Day 30. I'm reading Reader Come Home by Marianne Wolf. This is page 120. Our children's internalized knowledge. At the heart of both deep reading and cognitive development is the profoundly human capacity that allows children to use what they already know as the basis for comparing and understanding new information to build ever more conceptually rich background knowledge. Let me elaborate with two examples, one from your past and one from my present. Recall the Curious George story in which the beloved mischievous monkey hitches a ride on some escaped, stolen balloons and flies them through the sky. When he looks down at the ground far below, he laughs out loud at the way the houses look like little doll houses. Children familiar with doll houses, their diminutive size and appearance, will begin to understand something new, that things look different, smaller, from great heights. The concept of pictorial depth perception begins with such comparison. But comparisons like these are useful only for children when there is a knowledge base from which to compare. Recently, I visited a group of lively children in a remote part of Ethiopia where there were neither school nor electricity nor running water nor floors or of any kind. As part of our work on global literacy, I showed the children a picture of an octopus. They laughed. They had never seen or heard of such a creature, and no interpreter's attempt to explain its ocean home world would ever help. Our original plan to use apps with stories about mermaids and other sea creatures flew out a non-existing window. The ocean made no sense for children who daily had to walk 2 hours each day to retrieve water, nor would sailing through the sky on another unknowing thing, a balloon. The act of making analogies is the great conceptual link between what is known and what is not yet known. But it is a complicated entity in children's development that is influenced by whatever the environment does or does not provide children. For many children in Western culture, that environment is providentially rich in what it gives. But paradoxically today, it may give too much and ask too little. Maggie Jackson made the thought-provoking point that when there is too much information overload, the building of background knowledge actually becomes more difficult. Like my speculations about a child working memory, she argues that because we are given so much input, we no longer expend the necessary time to rehearse, make analogies, and store incoming information in the same way, which affects what we know and how we draw into inferences. The time needed to process what we perceive and what we read is profoundly important, whether in building memory, in storing background knowledge, or in every other deep reading process. The literacy critic Catherine Hales sharpens this crucially important point. She emphasizes that though we have extensive evidence that the digital media are increasing the volume and tempo of visual stimuli, we fail to reckon with the fact that the increase of tempo means that there is a correlative decrease in the time that the viewer has to respond. If we relate this insight to the deep reading circuit, less time to process and perceive means less time to connect the incoming information to one's background knowledge, and thus less likelihood that the rest of the deep reading process will be developed. As Eva Hoffman wrote about adults, our computer-based sense of time is habituating us to ever faster and shorter units of thoughts and perception. In children, the convergence of more information and less time to process it may well pose the greatest threat to their development of attention and memory, with serious downstream consequences on the development and use of more sophisticated reading and thought. Everything in deep reading circuit is interdependent. If children are building less knowledge because they are learning to rely ever more heavily on ever more external sources of knowledge, such as Google and Facebook, there will be significant and unpredictable changes in their ability to make analogies between what they already know and what they are reading for the first time and draw accurate inferences. They will only think they know something. This may sound familiar to you. Certainly it would have to Socrates, who worried out loud that if his students over-relied on a papyrus and could not talk back, they would have only the illusion, not the reality, of personal knowledge. Variations on this theme have punctuated the last 150 years, as writers and filmmakers have questioned our increasing reliance on various forms of technology. Both Tom Hanks playing an astronaut in Apollo 13 and Matt Damon playing a botanist in The Martian lose the ability to rely on technology and can survive only because they have the ability to rely on their own knowledge. In the first quarter of the 21st century, our children need to be educated like those fictional scientists from kindergarten through high school to develop both technological acumen, and deep stories of internalized knowledge. Okay, I should stop here. This was Minky. Please correct me if you can. Thank you.